Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you to ECR Austria for having me here all the way from Australia today to talk about the future of food and decoding longevity. Now, we've only got a short time together, so let's leap right into that future. Start by asking you a question. Have you ever wondered why we simply accept that we will die in our 80s, 90s, or early 100s? The Greenland shark lives healthily for 500 years. The bowhead whale for 200 years. Vastly different health spans and lifespans to humans, but we are composed of exactly the same coding material, DNA, and exactly the same chemical building blocks as these animals. So why can't we live as long as they do? Who here would like to live healthily to 100? No? Now, keep your hand up if you would like to live healthily to 150. Keep your hand up if you would like to be immortal healthily. Not so many. Interesting, isn't it? So, what is it all about? What it's really about is how do we match up, how do we live healthily to the end of our lifespan? And a lot of the research that's going on at the moment is about increasing the health span of our lifespan. Currently, in advanced countries like Australia, Austria, the UK and US, the gap between health span and lifespan is around 10 to 15 years. That is 10 to 15 years of debilitating illness and cognitive decline. And that's why so much of the research is going into closing this gap to get our health span as close as possible to our lifespan. And why do we want to slow aging or maybe even reverse it? Because aging is a known cause of death. And extending our lifespan has been a fascination for humans for thousands of years. The Greek historian Herodotus tells us the Macrobian Ethiopians 2,500 years ago had a spring or a well that extended their longevity. More recently, we have Oscar Wilde and his picture of Dorian Gray, who managed to stay young and vibrant while the picture in his attic slowly decayed. So that fascination continues. We even have, in more recent times, the curious case of Benjamin Button, who is born old and gets younger, and has that famous phrase that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards, from Søren Kierkegaard. So aging really is something that has fascinated humans and has a long history in culture and more recently in science. Now, there's also a phrase, I'm not quite sure how common it is in Austria, only two things in life are certain: death and taxes. Now, with taxes, I'm sorry, I can't hold out much hope for you at all. With death, who knows? What can we do to cure aging? Because aging is increasingly being seen as a disease, and we can cure diseases. Can we cure aging? That's quite a controversial topic in longevity and aging, but maybe we can. Now, there are many theories on what is the cause of aging, what actually causes us to age. And one theory is from Dr. David Sinclair, who says that It's simply a loss of information. Now, Slaven talked about epigenetics this morning, and that is how our genes are expressed. Dr. Sinclair says we lose the ability to properly express our genes, and because of that, we age. He believes there's a master reset, a backup copy, if you like, of our software somewhere in our cells, which is why babies are born with almost a clean slate and not born at the same age as their parents. Now, there are many levels of longevity technologies that we have. The first one is longevity level 1, which is all about lifestyle. So particularly looking at our mental health, our attitude. You'll probably live almost as long as you believe you will live. If you believe you will live to 84 or 92 or 102, good chance you will. If you believe you'll die earlier, you probably will. So we have all sorts of other areas in food, nutrition, exercise, as we talked about before, sleep, supplements, and that's our level 1 longevity technologies. If we go to longevity level 2, this is about medicine. So it's about curing diseases, because basically by curing a disease, we're prolonging our lives. We also have other technologies that we can use in here as well, and excuse me. Then we get to longevity level 3. And longevity level 3 is a bit more sci-fi. I don't know whether anyone here has seen the Netflix series Altered Carbon, which is an ultimate longevity series. Have a look for that on your Netflix. Very interesting series. And this is about preservation. It's about things like cloning our bodies, body copies, preservation in itself. Maybe we get ourselves frozen until we can then be cured of a disease by technology that's maybe decades away. And even mind uploads, where we can upload our entire consciousness to the cloud. Who knows? So what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to look at a couple of our level 1 technologies, because that's what we're interested in. And we're going to look at it in terms of lifestyle, enhanced by nutrition and supplements, and powered by AI, sensors and quantum computers, leading us to our health span. Now, if I were to tell you that there was a pill you could take that would cost you €1 per day, and it was scientifically validated that you would gain 5 years of healthy life, who would part with €1 a day and take that pill? Well, good news is you don't even have to part with €1. Because the basis for health span and lifespan is the food and nutrition that we eat. That is capable of prolonging our health span and our lifespan. As Dr. Voltalongo says, to paraphrase him, there is no greater return that we can get for almost nothing by simply changing the way that we eat. We need to be at a stage where food is treated as a source of wellness, not a source of illness. So what is the foundation? What is the basis for wellness in our food? Simply, it is plants. Plants contain many, many healthy helping compounds. And this one here that we're looking at here, in these beautiful coloured berries and raspberries, is something called polyphenols. Now, these polyphenols, they have anti-inflammatory capacity, and they also help with DNA repair. And they're found in anything that's highly coloured, say like our beautiful blueberries and our raspberries there. Now, the most famous one might be resveratrol, which was found in red wine and thought to be something that was anti-aging. But to get a dose did anything, you'd have to drink several bottles of red wine, which some people thought was a good idea. Now, the jury is still out on resveratrol, whether it really does work or not, but I'll leave you to choose what you want to believe in. Another polyphenol which has good anti-aging capacity is called quercetin, found in capers, the flower buds of the caper bush. It has the highest level of this polyphenol of any plant on Earth. And who would like to know whether I think that coffee is good for your aging or not? Who would like to know that? Yeah, well, good news. Drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee consistently, particularly in the morning, has been associated with longer health span, longer lifespan, and healthier aging. So you can enjoy your coffee, preferably without dairy milk. It tends to blunt some of the effect, but black coffee or coffee with other milks, you can go right ahead and enjoy that. So we've talked about some foods that we should eat. What about how we eat? Now, fasting is one of the best scientific evidence-backed ways of increasing your longevity. Whether that's intermittent fasting, whether that's long-term fasting, just straight food reduction, it has been shown to increase longevity. But as we all know, pretty hard to do consistently. So a company called Prolon, which was established by Walter Longo, can give you a set of meals that fool your body into thinking that starvation is coming. And if it thinks starvation is coming, it will start looking for things to reuse. It'll get rid of all those misfolded proteins, the DNA that's not quite right. It'll munch them all up and turn them into building blocks for your body. But your body, because your body thinks starvation's coming, so it's fooling it by the actual food content. They claim after 3 rounds of their Prolon diet will reduce your biological age by 2.5 years. Now, we don't get actually all of our nutrition from human metabolism. We get, as has been mentioned in a couple of talks this morning, it comes from our microbiome. So all the bacteria, viruses, fungi, everything else that live in and on our body. 95% of them reside in our gut. We are actually half human cells and half microbial cells. So if you only feed one or the other, you're not going to have a good outcome. Now, it's a very new area of science. Back in 2006, 138 papers published. This year, they're talking about pro rata over 15,000 papers being published on our microbiome. So what has all this research shown us? It's shown us that our microbiome affects so many things in humans. It can affect our mood, it can affect our cognitive health, it can affect our emotional health. It has major effects on most of what happens to us as humans, half of our cells influencing the other half of our cells. What it's also shown is that we are very, very unique in how we react to food. Now, in this study, people were fed a cookie and a banana. Lisa on the left, her blood glucose was spiked by the banana, not by the cookie. Whereas the other person was spiked by the cookie and not the banana. Common sense, right? Well, so much for common sense. So this has led to a lot of companies being established based on this uniqueness of our microbiome. Companies like Viome in the US, Zoe in the UK, and they can then look at the food that you propose to eat or what you should eat. You can scan products in the supermarket, and it will tell you whether it's good for your individual health and nutrition. They even claim that they can calculate your biological age and your mitochondrial health, which are the little powerhouses in your cells which enable you to do anything in life. Without our mitochondria, we would die. So what are the foods that we should be eating in the plant kingdom? Well, the best thing that we can do to nourish our microbiome is to eat fibre, and particularly legumes, so beans. And if we look at the fibre content, a review of 100 million person years of data showed that those who ate the most fibre had a 15 to 30% lower chance of premature death than those who ate less fibre. All for literally a cup of beans a day. Now, that is partly behind this product called body granola from Japanese company Calbee. You send them your DNA, your microbiome, they analyse it, they then look at giving you a combination of additions to your base granola which are based on just for your microbiome. And the key thing with fibre metabolism is it produces what's called short-chain fatty acids. And these are very, very good for lowering your inflammation rate. And as was talked about this morning, inflammation is the enemy of healthy aging. Now, we've talked about what we should eat. What about what we shouldn't eat? Sugar. Now, why? One word: glycation. What is glycation? Well, when you spike your blood glucose, that glucose combines with the lipids, proteins, and DNA in your blood to make a nice sludge, which is not very good for healthy aging. So avoiding sugar consumption is one of the prime things that you can do for healthy aging. So we need some alternatives. This is one called allulose. It is a rare sugar, literally rare in nature, but recent advances mean we can produce pure allulose, and it's 70% as sweet as sugar, and it has no GI, no glycemic index at all. Then we have something called a sweet protein called brazein from the company called Ubli. 2,000 times sweeter than sugar. It's metabolized like a protein, has no effect on blood sugar, is anti-inflammatory, and it's just a very, very good substitute for sugar, because we all want to keep enjoying the things that are sweet, don't we? This is the way that we can do it. Now, we've looked at foods. What about a brief look at supplements? And most of the supplements that we have originated in the plant kingdom. We've talked about our friend resveratrol. I'll leave you to work out whether you want to take a dose of that or not. And then, of course, we have our quercetin and something else called berberine, which is found in the barberry bush, the tree turmeric, and golden seal. And it's another one that can activate pro-anti-aging pathways so that you can age healthier. The question is, of course, you do all these things, how do you know whether it's having any effect or not? I mean, I don't know of anyone, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's someone in this room that can tell me yesterday or even today how much protein you ate, how much fat you ate, how much sugar you ate. It's just almost impossible to be able to know. So this is where our biowearables come in. This is the Samsung Galaxy 8. It will measure your heart rate, sleep patterns, blood oxygen level, your exercise, and critically for what we're talking about in longevity, it will measure two key things. It will measure things called beta-carotenes in your body. And those tell you whether you've eaten enough of those highly coloured fruit and veg. Also, if you put your thumb on the bottom of a sensor, it will tell you whether you have too many AGES products in you as well, those advanced glycation end products, the ones produced from sugar. So you can keep track of, are you accumulating too many ages in your blood. And looking at other sensors, we talked about the importance of understanding your blood glucose, because not only is it a marker of how well you're aging in terms of your blood sugar, but it can be a pre-diabetic condition. This is a product from Abbott called the Abbott Lingo. Now, yes, we've had continuous glucose monitors for a long time, but they've all been for diabetics. This is aimed at health, monitoring how you react individually to your food. And also, if you know how you react individually to your food and your blood glucose levels, that also tells you something about how you're going with your diet, your food and nutrition for aging. This is a product from Epicor Biosystems. It will measure your calcium, zinc, iron, your electrolytes, and in the future will even measure your vitamin C and your vitamin D, all from your sweat. So you can get feedback on what you're eating. Now, in the future, we're going to have an enormous amount of data from things like tattoos, ingestible sensors, semi-permanent and permanent implants. And that means that we're going to need something to model these results. This is where Harvey and Harvetta come in. Male and female virtual physiological twins. They model 80,000 biochemical reactions, 26 organs, and 6 blood types, and your microbiome, to determine and predict how you react to food. Now, once we've got that model, we need the calculating power to work out what it all means. And that's where generative AI comes in. It will enable us to get huge metabolic insights from vast amounts of data, often impossible for the human mind to even comprehend. We will get answers to questions we didn't even know we had. So our personal AI will be able to help us to determine a diet that will optimize our health span and our lifespan. And that's very, very important for consumers, because, as I said, it's all very confusing what you should or shouldn't eat and what it does for you. Because at the moment, it's the old joke. If that's the supermarket health food aisle, what does it say about all the other food aisles in the supermarket? And what will it mean for industry? Well, in the long term, there will be no food industry. Why? Because if people are eating for their health, what industry will food companies be in? They will be in the health industry. We're seeing a long-term convergence of health, food, and nutrition. So based on our foundation of our food and nutrition, add in some of our advanced longevity technologies, maybe the ones where we have animal organ donors for humans, or mind uploads, we're heading for a world where aging need not be inevitable. It can be controlled or maybe even reversed. For the food industry, what it means is the expectation will be that food will be a source of wellness, not a source of illness. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony Hunter. Ladies and gentlemen, there's lots and lots of questions coming in for you, Tony, because we're apparently all very much interested in our health span, of course, and very much on edge after what you just told us. We want to know more. A very interesting question. You talked a lot about food technology and food industry and where it's going, but the most liked question at the moment, you can still rank the question, by the way, just go on Menti and do that, is how mental health and health of the soul, and how does this prolong or shorten our lives? Is there scientific evidence on that?
Yeah, there definitely is. As I said, one of the longevity levels includes your mindset. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that the world is doomed, you're not going to live long, we're all going to die, it's probably going to happen to you. But if you go out with that positive mindset, I mean, the power of the mind is just amazing what it can do if you believe. So if we believe we are going to live long, if we believe we can control our health span and our lifespan, then the chances are we will at least have a high level of control. I don't think we can will ourselves to live forever, but boy, we can will ourselves to make the most of the lifespan that we do have.
If I don't get to 90, I will call you. Let's move a little
I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to make a few more years than you. That's why, I might not be there.
One of the questions also was, how healthy is highly processed, high-tech food that is designed to be healthy?
I mean, we've got a lot of talk around at the moment about ultra-processed foods. And I am not a fan of the Nova system. I think it's ultra-propaganda. As a food scientist, a food technologist, to think you can predict the nutritive value of any food on one axis alone, how processed it is, beggars the imagination. It needs to be far more nuanced than that. I mean, we have in the Nova system, hams, bacons and salamis are healthier than a plant-based hamburger patty. Class 2, Class 1 carcinogen is better than a plant-based product just because the processing is different. It's the nuances are lost by trying to use any one criterion to measure how healthy a food is.
Okay, so that would be another keynote then.
I've got one, if you want it.
Another question that would put us on a whole new spectrum of questions, but I'll still gonna ask you because many people liked it and it's ranked very highly in our list is, what are the ethical limits of using food technology to extend human lifespan?
Ethics are always something that are deeply personal. But I would think from my perspective, I have no problems with the ethics of taking an antibiotic, a high technology product, to extend my lifespan by stopping me from dying. Yeah. So I have no issue in general with technologies being used to extend lifespan. I mean, who here would go, my heart's not good, a heart transplant will save me, but I have an ethical problem with the technology used for a heart transplant? Maybe some of you would. It's all technology. Now, personally, I would draw the line. Do I want my own personal pig in case I need a new heart? I struggle with that one. But, so I think technologies are neither good nor bad. Mm-hmm. They just are. It's that old saying, comes from Shakespeare. A thing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So it's what you think it is that is your reality.
Okay. We're a little pressed for time, but I find the question very important as a person who enjoys more than one sugary treat a day. What about the benefits of enjoying food without any regrets?
Oh, look, I think, as I said, there is room for indulgence. If we're just simply going to eat handfuls of things we pull out of the ground, it's going to be a pretty boring old life. But the purpose of showing some of those alternatives was we can have our cake and eat it too if we look at how we formulate and what we use to make these products based on advances in scientific knowledge. We had no idea that the ages products from our reaction of glucose with components in our blood even existed 10 or 20 years ago. So how was anyone to know that sugar was that bad from that point of view? We've had a lot of bans on things like sodas and so on around the world to try and keep sugar consumption down, but mainly from a dietary and obesity point of view. But we're also learning that it has some bad aging effects as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's many more questions for you, but we're really pressed for time.
Can I just say one last thing? To prove what I say that I believe, on Monday night, I had Saka taught at the Saka Hotel. That was not good for my blood glucose.
but very good for the soul.
I loved it.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Tony Hunter, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.